Hey everyone, Dan Lippert here with a video on what is happening with Ethereum prices right now. The time I'm making this video, Ethereum is about $270 US per Ether, and it's dropped about 20% in the last 24 hours. So if you're holding Ethereum right now, you probably want to know what the hell is going on. So today I'm going to walk you through some of the reasons why I think the Ethereum prices are dropping so much right now. I'm going to give you my advice on whether I think Ethereum is a good investment at this point. I'm also going to tell you where I think the price of Ethereum is going and how you can best prepare for the upcoming bull run. So let's check it out. All right, everyone. So first things first, let's just take a quick look at the chart and see what we're dealing with here. So as we can see, the past day, yesterday at this point, we had a massive red candle in Ethereum. Really big price drop. And as you can see here, I've been looking at Ethereum Bitcoin trading pair for a little while now. I've been trying to predict what I think is going to happen. And in my opinion, somewhere around the end of June, Ethereum really failed the trend that it was forming. And at that time, things seemed somewhat bullish for Ethereum. We have, as you can see here, and don't worry if you don't understand all this terminology. If you're interested, I can cover this stuff in a future video, or you can check out, I think it's Investopedia.com. They have a great glossary and tons of articles on what all these different trading signals and all this stuff on the charts means here. But we had like this nice green cloud. We had the candlesticks above the cloud, very bullish. Things were just looking good, but it failed. And today I'm going to tell you why it failed, and I think it's because of technical reasons. I think there are some serious problems within the Ethereum blockchain with some of the Ethereum software, and also things that are happening with other cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin, are not making Ethereum as attractive as it used to be for use as a currency. And finally, just looking at the chart here, we're pretty zoomed in here. Right now I'm just looking at from about April to now. But guys, come on. Let's zoom out and let's look at the wider trend here. And you go back to around April 2017 and just look at this rise. I mean, when you have a rise like this where it goes parabolic, that's unsustainable. And so you're going to have a massive retracement afterwards, and there's going to be this back and forth price action where the price is just going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. And then hopefully it starts to even out. And then as that wave settles, then you can start looking at it on some other fundamentals, on the technology basis, things like that. And I think we're just starting to see that type of stuff now, which is why the price has gone down and kind of broken out of that ripple pattern that I've drawn here. That being said, it could be just a continuation of it, but when we see this lower low than that previous low right here, this previous bottom from the end of March, that really starts to concern me. So up next, let's take a look at what are the technical problems affecting Ethereum right now. All right, so here we are on GitHub, which is where the official Ethereum source code is kept and made open source for everyone to check out. And we're looking at Geth, which is the command line interface for running an Ethereum node. And if you're not familiar with what an Ethereum node is, it's basically a web server that connects to the blockchain and lets you read information from the blockchain, lets you send transactions, lets you call smart contracts and all that type of stuff, right? It's what makes the Ethereum network work in a way. It's the service that the miners talk to. It's the service that your wallets talk to. Super important, right? Let's take a look at the issues, which are kind of like bug reports here on GitHub. We've got 722 issues for Go Ethereum, for Geth, right now, the Ethereum node. And if we take a look here, we can see Geth full node CPU usage and dropping peer, okay? Pending transactions are not mined. Now, some of these might be just nothing, right? They might not be big deals. Because anyone can submit these. But right now, there are a ton of open issues on Geth, and a lot of people have been complaining that the Ethereum node software just can't catch up to the rest of the blockchain. There's something wrong. It's getting out of sync with peers, and it's not working correctly. And so that's generating a lot of problems. And some people think this is where the Ethereum network, because of its size, is starting to break down a little bit. Let's take a look at some of the most commented issues here. Geth fast stalls before crossing finish line. Oh, this one's pretty bad. Can't unlock any of my 4 Geth generated accounts. 30,000 Ether inside. So some of these are older, but some of these are quite old, over a year old, but you know, there's just problems here. There's big problems here. So one thing that I think you should always do is take a look at what the developers are thinking about a piece of software, because in the end, the developers are really the people who are going to drive the technological value to the software. Now, technological value is only a small piece of what kind of makes up the price of a cryptocurrency. You know, you've got marketing, and you've got hype, and you've got all this other stuff. But one of the big fundamentals is just, what do the developers think? Are people building dApps on it? Are people contributing to the open source repository? You know, you just want to see what the engineers, because Ethereum is meant to be a platform for people to build software on top of, right? Ethereum is not the final piece of software. It's for you to set up your smart contracts and build dApps. So if no one's doing that, and if they're having big problems getting started to do that, then Ethereum has a serious problem as something beyond a cryptocurrency, as a developer platform, which is where I think a lot of its promise comes from. And its main differentiator from Bitcoin is that you can build these complex programs. But if that's no longer true, we're going to see the value of Ethereum drop. I think some of these issues in particular: synchronization failed, dropping peer, unable to sync, full sync, archive node never finishes syncing. So, some of these are from, this is from March 3rd this year, this is from May 29th this year. And these reports have been coming in since the end of last year. And myself as a developer, I've seen some of these problems as well. You need a serious amount of hardware at this point to sync an Ethereum node, because the blockchain is just so big at this point. And I think this is why people like the people who are behind Ethereum, they're so interested in presenting some additional solutions like the Casper delegated proof of stake or sharding. Ethereum is starting to run into these scaling problems, and we're seeing it here in the node software. Now, here is a tweet that I've seen getting some traction within the cryptocurrency community on Twitter, particularly in a subset of the community known as Bitcoin maximalists. Bitcoin maximalists are people who really believe in Bitcoin being the best cryptocurrency, and a lot of them believe that there's no need for other cryptocurrencies, that Bitcoin can basically do it all, and that everyone should be focusing their energy on Bitcoin. I have to say I'm not unsympathetic to this idea, although I really do like Ethereum as well. But that being said, let's check out this tweet. The Ethereum death spiral is just beginning. ICOs are over. They're selling all their Ether. No successful dApps. That's decentralized apps. Most popular dApps are Ponzi schemes. Adoption is zero. Expect $50 per Ether within 6 months. Now, I don't know. I certainly don't agree with everything in this tweet here, but there is some truth to it. There aren't as many big ICOs anymore. And all of the ICOs that collected money when Ether was $900, $1,000, they're taking massive hits when you look at their books in terms of USD, and they're probably running out of runway and they need to sell their Ether. So as all of these dApps all of these ICOs start selling their Ether, that's going to drop the price even more. Now, $50 per Ether within 6 months, I don't know about some some positive sentiment in the market within the next 6 months. Let me just say, obviously this is all for educational purposes. This is not investment advice in any way, and nothing on this channel is. But I'd be really surprised if I saw $50 per Ether, and I would at least pick up some Ether for development purposes at that point. And it makes development a lot cheaper. It makes smart contract calls a lot cheaper when you look at their USD value. So not even necessarily a bad thing, to be honest. Unless you're only in Ethereum for investment purposes, $50 in ETH isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it might be the perfect time to start acquiring some. So anyway, this is some of the social media sentiment I've seen right now. This is kind of the really negative, pessimistic view of Ethereum. Before I wrap this up, I'm just going to show you one more thing that I think is really overlooked by a lot of people, and that is super important to take into account when you're looking at the price action for cryptocurrencies, not just Ethereum, but all cryptocurrencies. So what I'm talking about is this chart right here. It's the US dollar currency index. And what this is the US dollar weighted against a basket of other fiat currencies from around the world. And what they do is they compare the value of the US dollar to this kind of average of other world currencies. Look at this chart. You got to remember, cryptocurrencies are currencies. And when you see the US dollar go up almost 10% since around April, May of this year, of course you're going to see a big contraction in other currency markets, including cryptocurrencies. So I think this is a super useful tool for you to not only take a look at to see some of these kind of more micro trends. You can see this like price action happening in here, but it's just great to keep in mind that if you're looking at things in terms of their USD value, you need to understand what is the value of USD. And if the value of USD goes up, whatever you're comparing against it is going to go down. And that includes cryptocurrencies. All right. Lastly, I want to talk about the other side of the Ethereum Bitcoin trading pair, which is Bitcoin. What's been happening with Bitcoin? Well, there's been a ton of excitement in the Bitcoin community because of all this recent development work that's gone on, particularly around one specific new second layer protocol. And second layer protocol is basically a system that lies on top of the blockchain that maybe makes that blockchain easier to use or accelerates transactions or something like that. And that's called Lightning Network. You've probably heard of Lightning Network, but it's really starting to take off in terms of popularity. And there's all types of Lightning nodes out there. There's a ton of liquidity, which is basically what allows you to send Bitcoin back and forth along the Lightning Network. And if we just look at this Lightning Network analytics site, which is 1ml.com, we can see there's over 2,000 public nodes. There's over 10,000 channels. There's 82 Bitcoin available in the network right now. And over here you can see there's a ton of different stores, services, all types of stuff that's now accepting Lightning payments. And Lightning payments are really awesome because they happen almost instantly. And that's been the big criticism of Bitcoin, is that you have these 10-minute blocks, and a lot of people want, 3 or 6 confirmations, 3 or 6 blocks to go by, which is half an hour to an hour before they can trust a Bitcoin transaction. With Lightning Network, that's not the case. Lightning Network happens, like I said, almost instantly. And people, I think, really loved Ethereum because Ethereum has a really short block time. It's about 10 or 15 seconds. And with that 10 or 15 second block time, we're only talking about 30 seconds, a minute to be able to trust an Ethereum transaction. And so Ether, its value as a pure currency, not just the smart contract stuff and everything else that's built on top of Ethereum, but just to send value back and forth. People really liked it for that. It had that short block time and it worked really well. Bitcoin wasn't working so well, especially, and this is a topic for a whole nother video, but when things were happening between Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, that whole fork that happened, what was happening with the miners. To be honest, there was some shady stuff happening and the Bitcoin network was getting very congested and the transaction fees were getting very high. That's no longer the case, and it's even less so with something like Lightning Network, which actually can let you even do things like send less than a Satoshi of value, which is really cool. So a lot of people are really excited about Lightning Network, and this is making people, especially the developer community, really excited about Bitcoin. So it's no surprise that the Ethereum Bitcoin trading pair is seeing these big drops. So that's about it for this video. These are my reasons for why Ethereum is doing so poorly against Bitcoin right now. That being said, what should you be doing during this time, these big contractions? You should be educating yourself. You should be learning everything you can about Bitcoin, about Ethereum, about EOS, about Tron, about Ripple even. Learn everything you can about all these different cryptocurrencies and get educated. That way, you'll be able to recognize when the next bull run is starting. You'll be able to put your money into cryptocurrencies at that point, and you may even know enough at that point to either do an ICO of your own, build your own dApps, build your own e-commerce solutions that rely on cryptocurrency. You could become a cryptocurrency evangelist and be going around to your local businesses and telling them how to get set up to accept cryptocurrency. There's so much you can do in this ecosystem. So while prices are dropping, don't go around chasing trades of 2% gains, 5% gains, and risking something like 20% losses in 24 hours. Spend that time, read over the documentation for all these cryptocurrencies, get on the forums, learn about all this great technology like Lightning Network, and then you'll be ready for the next cryptocurrency bull run. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, please give me a like and a subscribe. That will help other people like you to be able to find this video and get the information they need. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.